Hi, I'm Feroz Khan, and welcome to Drag and Drop Low Code Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the game-changing impact of low code in software development. Join me in insightful conversations with IT leaders and passionate low code enthusiasts who are at the forefront of this digital evolution. Together, we'll explore how early adoption of low code is giving businesses a competitive edge on a global scale. We'll discuss its impact on software development, dissect its role in transforming businesses, and uncover the ways in which it's reshaping career trajectories. So whether you're a seasoned IT professional or a curious enthusiast, be sure to tune in as we share success stories and unravel the mysteries of low code. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a front row seat to the revolution that's shaping the future of technology. So let's go. Hey Andrea, how are you?
Hi, hello, Farah. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for, I think we've been talking for a while about it, so we're finally here. So thank you for agreeing to be a guest.
My pleasure. It's an honor to be here.
Amazing. It'd be nice to, I think most people in the community know who you are, but for those who listen who may not know about you, it'd be good to have a little brief introduction to who you are, where you're from.
Okay. I'm Andreia Tulcidás. I have been working at OutSystems for a little over 5.5 years. I'm the community engagement team lead. So what that means is that I have the privilege to manage a team that's really focused on creating a bond with our developer community, ensure that they're excited and motivated to want to keep growing in their journey with us. And I've done a little bit of everything since I joined OutSystems, always in the community space. Started out as a community manager, just trying to build those relationships with our key users, understand what our external stakeholders want, what they expect of us, what they need. And then it was a whole journey of building out programs, starting things from scratch, a lot of learning, a lot of errors, a lot of mistakes, and then becoming a part of our current developer relations team, which is over 100, oh, Jesus, over 115 members. I don't know
Wow.
why I said 100. Eventually, one day we'll get to
Eventually,
100.
yeah.
We're over 15 team members spread across globally. And we're just doing our part in ensuring that our developer community is changing the world an app at a time.
Amazing. And I'd like to kind of rewind a bit, kind of before OutSystems, just your background. Obviously, I saw you start off with Microsoft. Was that more kind of a marketing-based role?
Yeah. So funny thing is, when I started out at uni, I did a bachelor's in management. I did a master's in marketing. And my dream at the time was to work in luxury, which has
Okay.
nothing to do with tech. So my thesis was about luxury and fashion and
Yeah,
communications. And that's where I envisioned myself working. And as every recent graduate knows, the desperation of getting a job or getting an internship,
yeah,
I just threw my CV everywhere and
yeah.
I landed at Microsoft. So I got an internship there, working with startups and VCs and booming this entrepreneurial ecosystem in Portugal. And then I started working with partners, um, helping them with their campaigns, co-marketing strategies, making sure that they were building their business alongside Microsoft and that
Mhm.
I was there as their advisor, their right hand, within their space, working for the ecosystem at Microsoft. And then um, OutSystems at the time was a sexy unicorn,
Yeah,
and they were making all the headlines
yeah,
with a bunch of investment and just growing. And there was not a single person in Portugal that didn't know what OutSystems was. And they were building out their community team. And in one way or another, I already knew that I was working with communities, so working with startup
mhm,
founders and working with VCs and working with incubators. My whole job was connecting people.
yeah,
And when I started working with partners, it was the same thing. It was like, how can I help you orchestrate these relationships? How can I ensure that the conversations that you need to are being had with the right people?
mhm,
And so in one way or another, when I was interviewing at OutSystems, really surreal thing was that in maybe different interviews, no one could give me a straight answer on what my job was going to be.
Okay.
So I found it super interesting. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, kind of like a blank canvas sort of
Yeah.
situation, but at the same time, the whole core was about people. And I think that my strong suit, very naturally, that comes very genuinely, is about connecting people. It's about
Mm,
being with people, and I thrive when I'm with other people. I think that's the best part about being an extrovert is that my energy comes
mm,
from being with other people.
mm.
And so when they described a little bit about their mission of growing their developer community and me not being technical at all,
Yeah.
I was just like, maybe this could be a challenge. It's all about growing in
Mm.
regions and markets that have zero presence. So it's literally building something from scratch, and being in a sexy startup definitely helped.
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the questions I was going to ask was obviously how were you exposed to OutSystems, but I guess it helps that you're in Portugal, so everyone was talking about the business and you heard a lot. So sometimes when I speak to developers, when they learn about OutSystems, it's very kind of they got a job and they say, okay, we're using OutSystems now. Here you go. So I think for you, you could kind of build it up a bit that you were hearing about it, so that probably helped with your decision as well to be kind of in that environment.
Yes, 100%. And I think that, OutSystems being the second unicorn in Portugal at the
Mm,
time, they had just announced their unicorn status. It was very well known within the
mm,
industry. And I think that working with tech at Microsoft, I already knew what OutSystems was, already doing
mm,
things with OutSystems at the time. It was very natural to me. But 100% working with developers ever since I joined OutSystems, it has been a lot of my employer decided to uh, start working with OutSystems. What do
yeah,
I do?
yeah.
Or I have been so used to high code and traditional code, and
Mm,
what does this mean for me as a developer? Am I going to have to reshift my entire career? Is this going to have
mm,
a deep impact in the way that I'm perceiving my future? And so that has been a very fun transformation
yeah,
of coming from a background that everyone knows what OutSystems is to me convincing that OutSystems is
yeah.
going to change their world.
Yeah, yeah. And how for you, for yourself personally, obviously someone who had this aspiration in fashion and going in that direction, now you're in tech. Are you kind of that's where you see yourself going forward?
Someone asked me this a couple of weeks ago. They were like, "Do you see yourself in tech your entire life?" I'm going to tell you, tech scares me, but in a good way. Tech scares me in a good way. With this whole conversation about Gen AI and all the
Yeah.
amazing things that are coming out, I am sometimes very overwhelmed
Mm,
by the impact and what it's going to mean for
yeah.
our day-to-day lives in the future. But I don't see myself anywhere else. I think
Mm,
that when I was starting out my career, I was very scared of change.
mm,
And at Microsoft being such a big corporation, I think you're very much forced into becoming comfortable with change. There are so many
mm,
um, changes in strategy. There are so many
mm,
organizational updates. You just have to be okay with it. And then moving into at the time what was already a big startup, you have to be okay with a fast pace, with
mm,
being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I think that I'm too much of a scattered around person, even in my brain,
yeah.
to stay still and to stay quiet and calm and
Yeah.
see everything around me change and not be part of that change. So I can't see myself anywhere else,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. And
Maybe when I retire, I go into fashion, but
maybe, yeah, 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 yeah. As a side kind of, keep yourself busy. You touched on it earlier, but it with OutSystems, it's quite well known, obviously in Portugal, other regions around the world. What's the ultimate mission for the community team for a company like OutSystems?
you know, I feel like we have an emotional goal and I feel like we have a business corporate goal. I'm going to start with my favorite, which is the
Yeah,
emotional one. I
yeah,
think that
yeah.
our goal within our team is really to be able to change as many lives as we can. And I know that this may sound a little bit naive or may sound um, too much glass half full,
Mm,
optimistic in a way. But I think that the opportunity that we have to see how people from every background, whether they're architects, psychologists,
mm,
pharmaceuticals,
mm,
that have decided to give a second chance into changing their career and moving into a developer within OutSystems journey, and seeing how that like how that brought them so many positive changes in their lives. I think that that's for us what is what makes it matter the most,
Yeah.
you know. And getting to know those stories and getting to know those people, and sometimes seeing that sparkle in their eyes
Mm.
is what makes it worthwhile. But as a corporate goal, I think that we want to, you know, have global domination, right? I
Yes, of
think that
course. Yeah.
all tech companies are going to say that. I think that we want to very positively brainwash people into understanding that low code is not going to be something that's going to reduce your skills. It's not something that's going to limit you as a developer. It doesn't mean that you're not able to go into the code and write your own lines and customize your apps the way you want them to look and feel and work. And I think that that's the biggest misconception. So our
Mm.
mission is really to educate all developers across the globe that it's not something that's going to be a barrier into your future. It's going to be another skill in your tool belt. It's going to be something that's going to accelerate the way that you grow as a developer. It's going to be something that's going to make you more productive, more efficient, more fast. And it's going to allow you to build so much more in less time, and not necessarily more limited. You know, I'm
Yeah.
always hearing
Yeah.
about dragging balls and
Yeah. Yeah.
doing very simple apps. And I don't want to go into business jargon
Mm.
when we say, you know, we're building critical mission apps. We're building very complex applications, but this is not something that you can um, build in a day. You know, we're talking about
Mm.
big customers in the biggest industries that are trusting in us to serve millions of users on a daily basis. So I think that as soon as that switch happens, and as much as we have the influence to teach and to show
Mm.
those people the impact that we're able to have, I think that's our biggest goal as a team.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think I agree with what you said on the point that, for us as a business, obviously we've been focusing on OutSystems since 2018, and the growth we've seen from the customer side, but also the developer side, you can see the brand names that are adopting OutSystems are quite large companies who are really kind of doing all their major projects, like mission critical projects with low code and OutSystems, and the developers itself. I think your role in the community, you find, you have all these events, and I think it's evident. You can see it on LinkedIn, all the developers love engaging with the community team, and there's a real connection there between the team and the community, really.
Yeah, I think that, you know, one of my first memories at OutSystems was ODC back in 2018. So
Mhm.
maybe when you started, I think you were also
I
there.
wasn't there yet, but I heard. Was that Netherlands?
It was in Lisbon. It was
Lisbon. Oh, okay,
our
Lisbon. Okay.
first big developer conference
Yeah.
just dedicated to the community. It had, you know, 9 tracks, 100
Yeah.
sessions. We had almost 1,000 people at the venue. And I had just joined a month ago in the company. And I remember the whole team was just like scrambling to make sure that this conference happened, because it had been requested by the community, I think, for like six
Mm.
or 7 years. And I remember um, going into the conference and just breathing, you know, like excitement and passion,
Mm.
and you know, this relationship to a product that is not necessarily something very common that you see on a day-to-day basis. Because at the end of the day, if we look at at it this way, we're talking about developers who are working for with the technology
Mm.
that have created an interpersonal relationship with it
Yeah.
outside of work. You know, they're
Yeah.
going to events outside of work, they're
Mm.
getting together to talk about things, they're going above and beyond in their day-to-day lives to contribute on the forums, to create
Mm.
merge components, to write documentation, to create YouTube videos, to create podcasts
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yours. You know, and this is something that comes from within. This is not something that they're getting paid for.
Mm.
This is something that they're volunteering their time to do because they're so excited about what it
Mm.
means and what it can do for for the bigger community, for the bigger
Yeah.
ecosystem. So I think that events, especially ODC, um, I I I got, I mean, I was pushed into it, but it was a
Yeah.
privilege and an
Yeah.
honor to close the event I remember at the time, our former director of community, she was doing the closing session, and she was like, "No, no, no, you're going to come with me. I'm as new at OutSystems, so you're going to come with me, and we're gonna present ourselves to the community." And I think that one of the things that our team is not really scared to do, and probably is what allows us to have the relationships that you were
Mm.
talking about of being really connected to the community, is that we put ourselves out there. We're
Yeah,
exposing ourselves as much as we expect our community
yeah.
to expose themselves to us. So we went into that closing session, and I remember I was just like so stressed. I thought I was gonna pass out just looking at 800 people just staring at me, just glancing like, who the hell
Yeah,
is this person? And I remember just feeling like I was in awe of them.
yeah.
It was not the other way around. I was not expecting them to connect with me, but I was just like, this
Mm.
is insane that I have these amount of people just like so excited, just wanting to celebrate. We were
Yeah,
giving out awards to the MVPs, we were calling out people for their achievements, and they were all so happy for each other. It was
yeah.
just a beautiful moment of feeling community. And I think that events have allowed and even facilitated those moments of interaction, of
Mm.
people getting to know each other, of people finding their own people. The community,
Yeah,
the whole concept of community is you finding your people, is finding
yeah.
your group that makes you feel comfortable and that pushes for you and motivates you to do more. And I feel like that systems community is really doing a great job at being very welcoming and being
Yeah,
very
yeah,
friendly.
yeah, definitely. And I think it's good that, with all the events, your whole team is literally at every event, so everyone can, everyone follows you obviously on LinkedIn and social, so then they can meet you all. They obviously look forward to talking to the people that they watch all your release videos or everything like that. So that's always, um, I think they're quite interested in. But a question I had was after, you spoke about obviously being kind of thrown straight into it, right? And having that feeling. How did you go? How did you feel kind of going from that to then a pandemic where obviously there was nothing and you had to do organize all these things kind of virtually and remotely?
Oh, I kid you not. I think that was probably the time in my life where I was most anxious, and
Mm.
not just about a
Yeah,
global situation
yeah,
where the whole world was absolutely in shatters. But
yeah.
um, I remember us thinking, what are we going to do now? Because the whole point of community is getting people together.
Mm.
And even though we had to adjust into a virtual reality and we had to find ways of getting people together, it was not easy. And I remember there were two programs that I feel very proud of. Um, that fortunately I was proud of, I was part of.
Mm.
One of them was the COVID-19 response program that we did, community response program that we did. So we were able, with the support of our leadership team, to provide uh, infrastructures to projects that made sense at the time to relieve all the difficult times that were happening within society. So, for
Mm.
instance, we were getting so many volunteers reaching out to us, being, "How can I help? My local merchant that is 100% going out of business
Yeah.
because they don't know what to do," or "How can I help ensure that there are enough beds available in the nearby hospital in my house to ensure that the people that need those respiratory
Mm.
uh, 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 aids to ensure that they know that there's availability there, or how can we help with public funds to ensure that those are being used to people in need or something like that. And that started out very locally.
Mm.
Our leadership team started getting a lot of press in Portugal, and then it just started booming. And it got to a point where we were talking about 20 global projects that we were having simultaneously.
Wow.
We had over 300 volunteers, people that were going out of their way to help people that they didn't even know,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to make sure that they were building apps, that they were supporting projects that were going to have real life impact. I think that sometimes in your job, you only focus on the thing that you're doing, right?
yeah,
It's almost like a racehorse kind of situation. You only see what is
yeah,
in front of you. And
yeah,
I think that this situation just really forced everyone to be more selfless, and to understand how technology could play an impact into the dark times that we were going through. So I think that one for me really showed, it's not a pandemic that's going to stop us. Just try it. Just come at me. It's not going to stop us. It was a nice challenge, and it just brought everyone together without even asking. People were coming to us and trying to understand how we could help. And it got to a point where there were so many people that wanted to do something that we didn't even know where we could put them into, So it was a nice problem to have. So I think that one was a really good situation. And I think that another program and another really good memory, really good story that we have is how we pivoted our user groups, our events, into working within a virtual setting. So it was no longer something local. It was no longer something just for a specific city. Our community meetups, our community user groups are spread across cities, so they're city-based. So what we started doing were regional events. And the way that we forced ourselves into thinking how we can reinvent this was, what would we want to see? What would we want to go through? What would our community appreciate? So we just started talking to people. We just reached out to our super users. We talked to people that were helping us organize these events. And we just said, if you were at home at 6 p.m., bored out of your mind because you can't leave because the police is going to force you into your home, because supermarkets are closed, because you can't contact your family, you're so limited into what you're doing. What would make you at least smile for a little bit, have a good time, not think about that? So we started introducing little things, little gamifications, little incentives, little rewards, and it just blew up into, we were having regional events where we got, APAC all together. We had people from Malaysia, Singapore, Australia doing a game show. We had our user group leaders being hosts, and it looked like the Oscars. We had a user group organizer in Australia that 100% got into an Elvis disguise and was just portraying Elvis, and for EMEA, we had folks from South Africa and Portugal and the Netherlands and the UK getting together, and then people from other regions participating. So it got to a point where I think this story is really fun. We had people from Singapore and South Africa working together because they met in a virtual event, and they started creating documentation together, and then they started creating apps together. And this would have never happened as easily or as seamlessly if that opportunity was not created. So I think that it just made us realize that, again, going back to change, we have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and it's not stalling. We had two choices. We would either stop and readjust everything to online and figure out something that would not be as boring, or create a memorable experience, create something that people would remember, create something that would make their time worthwhile. So I think that COVID was horrible. Obviously, I don't think it's obvious that it was something horrible, but I want to believe that in one way or another, we were able to at least bring a smile to their faces for a little bit.
Yeah. And I think, but we're carrying on from that, obviously in Lisbon, we were there last year, and there was people from all over the world there. And I was in discussion with some people that, there was people, because they've been part of these user groups and things like that, they literally, when you decided to go back into in-person, there was people from all over the world that came, and you could see people from different regions who know each other because of these events, right? So it's kind of, I think I met one guy from Malaysia he came by himself, but once he got there, he knew loads of people, right? So I think that's a real kind of the impact that these things have, that it allows you to kind of build a network globally with so many people. But when was it kind of the decision to go back into in-person? Was that driven by the community team, driven by the community? Were people pushing to, when are we, everything's open, when are we meeting again? How did that come back about?
It was a mix, definitely. I think that people really wanted to go back as soon as all restrictions went down. I remember we were controlling so obsessively all the restrictions in different countries to know when we could go back. And I think that we even did a couple of events where people were wearing masks. We have pictures of,
Yeah.
normally
Wow.
it's smiley people and it was
Yeah, yeah,
masked people,
yeah.
it was a different
Smiley
kind of
eyes.
picture at the time.
Smiley eyes.
Smiley
Yeah.
eyes, exactly. Um, but we were just worried about everyone's well-being. And I think that as a company, as a corporate company now, we need to ensure that the things that we're putting out there and the things that we're incentivizing and supporting to happen are not going to, in one way or another, contribute into, just another tiny little pandemic spread. We got a lot of pressure, and I think that a couple of years ago when we did our first next step and developer conference online, um, it was difficult. It was
Mm.
hard. People were not happy. People were just looking forward to
Yeah.
being together again, but we're not talking about 20 people together in a
Mm.
room. Last year, you saw we had
Yeah.
1,500 people
Yeah.
together in a venue, and the logistics and the health and security that's associated to that is so complicated that we didn't want to put anyone at risk, and we didn't want to jeopardize or even come to a situation where we would have to pull the
Yeah.
plug a month before
Yeah.
with people spending money and expenses on
Yeah.
travel and
Sure.
accommodation. So I think that we had to find a very healthy balance of what would make sense and what would be the right timing. And I think that last year it was it was the culmination of
Yeah.
everyone's very, very small patience
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
of being together. But it made everything worth it because everyone was I swear to God, I've never had so many people hugging me. I've never had so many strangers hugging each other. And the fact that, well, I will hug everyone anyway, but
Yeah.
I think that having people just being so happy to see one another was worthwhile the wait.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you were kind of, you usually within these events, you're on the stage and kind of how do you kind of find that experience? Like, is that something, like you spoke about before the pandemic, and then now you've had a long gap from kind of it's been more virtual, and then, I was in Denver, you were there, you were in Lisbon, kind of in front of a lot more people. The room was packed. How do you kind
I
of
thought I was gonna die. I legit thought I was gonna die. I remember we were so for those who don't know, I had the honor of emceeing the Lisbon One Conference last year, and I still don't know why I did this, and I still don't know why I was chosen to play that role, but it was terrifying, terrifying to say the least. I'm very comfortable with people one on one, and I'm very
Mm,
comfortable with people when I know that I'm not center of attention, or that
yeah,
because this is not about me. This is
yeah,
about getting people together and me being able to create this connection with people. And I remember being told, you're gonna introduce Palu. You're gonna introduce
yeah,
Palu Kazadu into the stage, into the initial keynote. And I thought, this is when I die.
yeah.
This is when I'm gonna have a heart attack. And when someone told me there's probably 1,000 people in the main stage, I was like, nope, 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 take me out of here. I was sweating everywhere.
Yeah.
And I remember Coutinho, who is one of our co-founders, who was preparing the whole demo about Morpheus. He was
Mm,
backstage with me. He was holding my hand and he was going to be like, you're going to be fine. You were born to do this. What are you talking
yeah,
about? Like, everyone knows you're so great on stage. I was like,
yeah,
I'm going to pass out. I'm going to pass out. Please come out with me. I'm going to pass out. But then I got out there, and my voice trembled for maybe
mm,
2 minutes. And then I just saw a lot of happy faces,
yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah,
I
yeah,
started seeing people that I recognized, and
yeah, of
then I
course.
started seeing people, like, happy that the event was kicking off, and I started seeing people, like, excited about what was coming. So I now am obsessed with it, and now
Yeah.
every time that anyone will invite me, I will say yes and
You're happy
freak
to
out
do
for
it.
20
Yeah, yeah.
seconds. Yeah,
But
I'll do it.
it's a testament to you, because obviously that doesn't come across, right? So like people probably who see you on the stage think, oh, she could just get out of bed and do this, right? So I think it's the nerves thing. A lot of people might think doesn't come for those who do that. But for you to share that, it shows that everyone kind of goes through a little bit of kind of freaking out
100%.
moments before these type of
100%.
things.
I was like,
And
please don't say Paulo's name wrong. Please don't say Paulo's name wrong.
yeah, you don't want to be doing that, definitely. And obviously, now we're kind of back in the swing of in-person events, and there's a lot going on for this year, and it's all over LinkedIn about the things that are going on. Can you talk about some of the events and things planned for this year? You're currently in Netherlands planning the
Yes,
one
this is not my
conference.
house,
Yeah,
unfortunately. This would be
yeah, with
very
random
pretty house,
people walking in the background. Yeah. So if
very
you could tell us,
communal.
if you could tell us a bit about kind of what people can look forward to events wise, one conference wise, any kind of things you haven't shared that you could possibly share with us, that would be great.
Okay, let's see if I can split a little Easter egg.
Yeah,
Um, so yes, we're full steam ahead planning the one conference. I'm literally in Amsterdam. We're meeting with the agency. We're doing site visits. The venue is going to be amazing, and for the first time, I think since I've joined OutSystems and have been part of organizing these events, this is something completely next level that we're preparing. And this is me setting expectations. Okay, this is not me
yeah,
overselling the conference. This is me being like, get ready for what's coming, because it's absolutely insane, and it's going to be so amazing. We're expecting double the people that we had in
wow,
Lisbon last year. We're going to have so many tracks dedicated to the community. So we're going to put our community front and center. Our call for speakers is open. We're going to add more tracks to have actual community members sharing their stories, their best
mm,
practices, the way that they've built their applications. We're partnering with our experts again. So we're going to have the people who are internally defining those best
yeah,
practices and working with our customers to build best in class applications, giving very in depth, advanced content to our developers. And then we're going to have obviously a lot of focus from our product management and our engineering
yeah,
teams on what's to come with Gen AI and with Morpheus and
mm,
everything ODC and O11, of course. But then, because it's only going to happen in Amsterdam versus what we did last year
yeah,
in terms of Denver, Lisbon, and India, we created the developer days because why not?
yeah, yeah,
So we're doing a little version of the conference. We're doing a 1 day version of the one conference spread across the globe. So next week we have Tokyo happening April 26th. Then we have New York happening May 1st. Those editions are already live. There may be a couple of editions coming in Asia Pacific, so
yeah.
maybe Malaysia,
Okay.
maybe India, um, and we're looking towards something potentially in the Middle East.
Mm,
So maybe Saudi Arabia. The maybes are, the
yeah.
100% happening.
Yeah. Maybe
Maybe
dot
not
dot dot. Yeah, definitely.
maybe not so maybe Easter eggs, maybe just
Yeah,
clear Easter
yeah,
eggs. But the whole goal here was really not to lose that connection with our
yeah,
community. And we know that not everyone is able to travel into
yeah.
Amsterdam. We know that a lot of people within Europe are going to be able to travel, and
Mm,
our community in the Netherlands is very strong.
yeah,
So we know it's going to be a jam-packed event, but at the same time, we don't want to um, show that we're not interested in
yeah,
fostering the relationships that we have with our own other local ecosystems. So we're putting a lot of effort to ensure that it's going to be amazing for everyone wherever they are.
yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. I think, yeah, it's good that you're still kind of keeping those developer days, kind of 1 day conferences. Because like you said, it's not everyone, like Australia, for example, can't just fly to Netherlands. Or maybe they can. There was a lot of them there last
They
year,
would
actually.
be welcome. They would
Yeah.
100% be super welcome.
And obviously, there's a lot of kind of initiatives to grow the community that's going on. There's a lot of boot camps and kind of trying to get developers involved in kind of
Mm-hmm.
learning out systems over the years. Is there
Mm-hmm.
kind of any success story example that you can share that you know of kind of someone who's kind of come through those ranks of those developer kind of boot camps or anything, and gone on to like maybe something with a very odd background, and now they're an OutSystems developer.
Yes, 100%. I can think of a lot of stories, but we were talking about this person yesterday here because she's just amazing. She's pure joy, and she is living proof that you can start again and become an expert. I think you've already may have had a conversation with her. You've talked with everyone in the ecosystem, so if you haven't interviewed her yet, you have
What's the
to.
name?
Uh, Elena Lamaidu, who is one of our MVPs.
No, I
She
haven't
works at
spoken to her. I haven't spoken to her. NTT?
Feroz. Yes,
Yes, she's on my
Feroz.
list.
What are you
She's on my list.
doing?
She's on
Yes,
my
your
list.
list is also very big. That's true. But we were talking about her yesterday because Elena, she came from a uh, chemistry pharmaceutical background. I
Wow.
think that's how you call it. I have the name in Portuguese.
Mm.
So she came from a very different background, and then she converted into an OutSystems developer. She started out as a junior, and fast forward 5, 6, 7 years, maybe, she's an expert. She just got promoted
Mm.
again last month into
Mm.
an expert engineer at NTT. She's an MVP. She's uh, a badass,
Yeah,
and she is just, living and breathing proof that if you want to, you will. I think the first time that we did the Neo Awards, we had an award that was dedicated to the person that was more involved, the person that was more proactive within this community. And this happened right after COVID.
yeah.
Elena would wake up at 5 in the morning to go to the Australia user groups and would
Wow.
go to bed at 12 or 1 in the morning to go to the US user groups. Elena would always come to all the events we were doing. Elena would always participate in the forums, would always participate in user groups or focus group interviews
Mm.
or testing sessions. She would always be there. She would always be proactive and always volunteer her time to learn. And she
Mm.
has been able to create this network of great people around her that have pushed her into wanting to challenge herself to be better and to grow.
Yeah,
And I think that, we gave her the tools, we gave her the training, we gave her the
mm.
resources, and then the people just did the rest.
Yeah,
And Elena is 100% one of my favorite success stories because she's just amazing. She's doing so much. And I think that as developer schools
mm.
have been growing so much, we're doing publics, we're doing customers,
Mm.
we're doing partners, now with the fast track programs where we're focusing on accelerating the journey between getting from juniors into seniors
Yeah,
more quickly in a more productive way and in a more experienced and guided way. We're already putting down or laying down the basis, the skeleton,
yeah.
the structure that people
Mm.
will need to get there. But then the community does the rest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really. I'll definitely have to get her on for sure.
See?
No, no, I think that's something that when we speak to people who are kind of early on in their journey, we always say similar to what you've explained about her. There's one thing getting certified, then there's going above and beyond to make yourself the ultimate developer, right? You can't just get certified. It's like I'm now a developer, find me a job. There's
I'm
so
done.
much, yeah, there's so much around it. I think, like you say, with the community, leveraging off the kind of the community forums and everything, and really kind of engaging with other people in the community. The thing of her joining all these user groups, it's quite, that's commitment, right? That's ultimate commitment, and shows that she's really invested. She's made a career change, and she is invested in making sure that's gonna work out, right?
Yeah.
No, that's a really nice story to hear. And just back to kind of the community side, that's something, that's been your career. What would be, and me personally, I've only kind of started hearing about the importance of community in the last 5, 6 years. Early on in my career, it wasn't really spoken about, big community teams and things like that. For people who are kind of, aspiring to go into roles in community, what would be your kind of advice for those individuals?
Ooh, okay. It's not that it's hard, but I think that
Mm.
it's different for everyone. I think that number one thing that is maybe a misconception is that you have to be a people person to work in community. You don't have to. you just have to be empathetic, and you have to be able to put users or your community or the people that you're working for and towards front and center. That's the only thing. You have to be able to not do something that you think is going to be best for your company without having the community's input and defining what that looks like, right? So I think that it doesn't, the whole point about community is figuring out the way to put a puzzle together so that people will connect. So it's creating things that will make people bond. Essentially is a mix of being a program manager and just being very good at relationship management. That's it. So as soon as you're able to really nail down those skills, I think that everything will come very naturally. There are resources within community, the industry as a whole that people can consume. You know, there's CMX and there's Fever, which are great resources that are fed by the community experts all around. And in the past 5 or 6 years, a little bit like you were saying, you've seen the rise of the CCO, which was once the chief customer officer. Now there's a chief community officer. You know, community is now being part of leadership teams. And then I think that one very important thing is understanding what community will serve, because I'm very focused, as this whole conversation showed, I'm very focused on events. I'm very focused on in-person, offline, of people getting together and gathering for the same purpose, to learn with each other and to grow with each other, right? But at the same time, community can serve so many other different purposes. Community can serve as aid to customer support. Community can serve as an extension of product management. You know, getting the feedback from the users on how to build a better product, a better service. Community can be all about marketing and engagement, you know, leveraging user generated content to put yourself out there, leveraging those success stories from the people that are on a daily basis working with your product or service to evangelize and to advocate for you. So there are many different layers. And I think that, you know, first of all, is really understanding, do you have the skills or what skills you want to work on to ensure that you can deliver on building community, and then figuring out your purpose. Because at the end of the day, working with community is all about finding your people, and you have to be able to feel it the same way that they feel it. You know, if 5.5 years ago you would have asked me if I would work with developers on a daily basis and be as happy as I am, I would probably say no. But now I have the best time with them. I learn with them all the time, and I'm as engaged and as excited about OutSystems as they are. So at the end of the day, I think that is good. Like, the connection that you have with the community, the connection that you have with the product is gonna be the most important thing above any advice that I can give. This is maybe not practical at all. I'm sorry, this was so scattered, but I feel like, again, we go back to my 6 interviews where there was no clear response. I feel like community is just a lot of things.
A jack of all trades, isn't it? Doing a bit of everything.
Jack of all trades. I like that.
You can add that to your LinkedIn bio, jack of all trades. And just on the final note, you know, you've kind of you know, you've gone through your career, how you got to today. Any kind of personal goals or kind of ambitions you have for yourself for the future?
Chief customer officer, Feroz. There's nothing less than that.
Nice.
Maybe kidding, half serious. No, I think that, you know, I have been within the community space for so long that I feel like I am very comfortable, and I'm still very challenged every day. So I don't see myself moving. I'm growing within, trying to understand how I can become better to our developers. I think that at the end of the day, being a marketing girly is nice and fun, but at the same time, you have to be able to really resonate with the people that you're working for and towards. So I may or may not become technical soon.
Interesting. Cool.
I think that has been a personal challenge that I've put within myself, because working within tech for so long and working with
Yeah.
developers for so long, and not seeing myself leave the industry. And then seeing people like Elena,
Mm.
crushing it
Yeah.
and being
Yeah.
amazing. And then, seeing how Gen AI is going to change the world. I
Mm.
have to keep up,
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
change is too fast for me. So I have to keep up somehow.
I guess, but that also, like you learning those things and adding that to your skill set allows you to even elevate your own job and relationship with the community because it's a much deeper level, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But it's not easy.
No, yeah, I
It's
know,
not
I
easy.
know. Amazing. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. It was great to talk to you, and you know, we've we've worked together and spoke to each other over the course of time, and it's nice to finally get your time and speak to you. And all the things you guys are doing great, and we love to be involved in them as well. So appreciate you taking the time.
We'd love to have you in our community. It has been a pleasure. And this is such a fun conversation. I had a
Yeah,
really good
amazing.
time. Thank you for having me, Feroz.
Thank you. We'll speak again, maybe again in the future for sure.
For sure.
When you're CCO, we'll have a chat. Amazing. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode, which is brought to you by iTrack. We are a leading staffing firm that solely specializes in supplying both contract and permanent low-code professionals to organizations globally. Navigating the niche landscape of the low-code market requires the best talent, and we recognize its critical importance for our clients. Whether you're a company looking to strengthen your team, an individual seeking the next career move, or someone entirely new to the world of low-code, we're here for you. Our extensive experience and in-depth market knowledge enables us to quickly pinpoint the ideal candidates while offering expert advice and support at every stage of your low-code journey. Reach out to us through our website or connect with me directly on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to assist you. Thank you once again for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another insightful episode. Until then, take care.